So, on the last episode of the Grievance Gordy Show, Grievance Gordy Show, Grievance Gordy Show. Don't you know? That's right. I'm the only show with my own theme song that I come out and sing for you. So, I was talking a little bit about the Order of the Nine Angles. This is a satanic paramilitary group. It kind of reminds me of Michael Aquino. And one of the things that this paramilitary group spread was racial hatred. It's so easy to do. It's so easy to get people worked up in a frenzy. In my book, Two-Legged Animal, I talk about the graffiti that was in our neighborhood, racial graffiti. And it was very confusing, racial graffiti. It was like, I talk about it in my book because there was like white killers and black killers. I'm like, do the black people kill the white killers? I mean, wait a minute, do they kill the black killers are the what? It was the BKs and the WKs. It was all created by the police department. This is what I'm trying to tell you, going all the way back to the KKK. The guys in the KKK were the local sheriff and the local judges, going around being the good old boys. This translates into today's police department. I believe that there's way too much emphasis on the judiciary. I mean, people have to be responsible for themselves. Sorry, I don't know what's better. Sorry. I get up and I do my show. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I get up and I have my coffee. Now I drink Starbucks instant. That's good. Oh man. So you have the Order of the Nine Angles, and they created a guidebook explaining what they were doing and what deity they were worshiping. And so they chose, I believe, a female Babylonian deity. Okay, and so there's not really much you can hang on to these guys in the Order of the Nine Angles. I mean, they're pretty elusive. There's only one major player, and like I said, he was involved in the Afghanistan shenanigans. Around that time, he converted to Islam. I believe he's probably from England or the UK. This guy, David Myatt, and he disavows it. He just simply throws it away, says, I didn't really participate too much with those guys. But you could see it kind of traces all back to the military, to the government. Okay, the FBI killed Martin Luther King. This is a fact. They had to pay out a bunch of money. Right? I think something else happened that day where they made the big announcement, of course, so they could bury it. Sorry, I know I got a dirty cup, but it's I'm not gonna make it myself. Ugh, it's not that good today. Ugh. But anyway, so you have these type of shenanigans. They come from the government. What's going on in today's land, today's world? It's the same thing. They're trying to push this racial element, big racial divide. So they had something called Operation Crimson Dust, I believe, or Operation Crimson Mist. There's a teacher right here in California, Hamamoto, and I check out his channel as well. I check out a lot of different channels, guys, and I check them out for a lot of different reasons. So I'm the only one talking about the OJ case as being an operation. This was 100% an operation to get people, to get people's ire, to say that, because he was rich, he was able to buy his way out of a murder charge. I mean, this is completely fallacious. This is completely ridiculous on its face level, and I can't believe I'm the only person calling this out. It's amazing how there was a friend of his, what was his name? A.K. Rowlings or A.C. Rowlings or something like that. A.C. or something. It was his best friend. Don't you remember? And don't you remember that what's this, Al Cowlings or something? The guy driving the Bronco. Oh, it's his best friend. Gee, how come we never saw OJ with that motherfucker ever since that case went down? And here he is, his quote-unquote best friend. Well, I talk about my real life on this show, and fuck you for life, you Michigan bitch crew. That's what they did to me. They sent a friend of mine, someone I've known for 30 and 40 years, to participate in these shenanigans, to target me as an individual, to harass me, to run ops on me. I'm harder, smarter, better, faster than you ever were. Make no mistake about that. And it's really very strange back in Michigan. It's like, I got these motherfuckers on my nut trying to shit talk me, but none of them ever do it to my face. I'm like, oh, well, okay. Yeah, big tough talker. So I can get into that a little bit. This is what these guys do. They're all wrapped up. Every time I see these motherfuckers, they're with usually in my case, it's a white guy who's the size of a linebacker. This is a police officer. I see these motherfuckers, they got their black squeaky shoes and their white socks. These guys are police officers. That's what they are. And they are up to no good. They actually start the shit. They don't go in and solve the shit. Okay? I'm a writer. But I'm black-pilled. I call it maroon-pilled. I am maroon-pilled. And that's what I wanted to say a little bit about this whole racial thing. It's so utterly ridiculous. The fact is, over in Europe, they bomb other countries, and then the countries they bomb, they set up what they used to call here was the Underground Railroad. They talk about it all the time. Why? Because it still exists. It still exists in these Eastern European countries that they're bombing. And then they set it up so where the immigrants can go into another area, right? So they'll do it anywhere. They'll do it in Afghanistan. They'll do it in Eastern Europe. And as a matter of fact, I just read the other day that... Listen, can you see the train? Train I ride, 16 coach along. So... they set up these routes, and again, in school, they're telling me about the Underground Railroad. Well, like I said, it still exists. This is what these NATO countries do, and I just read that these EU NATO countries are going to be giving all their weapons to the Ukraine so they can use them. So what they're basically doing is they're pounding sand. I don't know what they have over there. They're pounding the ground. They're pounding the earth. They're using up these weapons. They're firing these weapons off. Why? Because the Ukraine can use them. I don't think they're officially in NATO yet, but they can get rid of all their weapons and do what? Well, they're forced to order new ones. Okay? I talk about the economy being crashed here on purpose. That's the whole point of DEI. It is to crash the economy. That way you have these huge swaths where the stock price plummets and then goes up. This is forced. A lot of these newspaper headlines are forcing this. The other thing I talk about on this show is the monolith, Stanley Kubrick's monolith. I'm quite familiar with it. Unfortunately, my wife's brother was a police officer. He gave her a weapon and she used it on me mercilessly. And I just want to state for the record, I had an eye twitch for the last 3 days. It was brutal. And it made me think that for 3 days that I was going to have an aneurysm. That's how bad this weapon was that my wife used on me whenever she felt like it. When there's a federal investigation, and there will be, I don't have to be alive for that. I can be long gone, and that's fine with me. I don't even care. But there will be a federal investigator, and you will not lie to those investigators. If you do, they already know what the answer is before they come knocking at your door. And what they want you to do is lie. And I hope my wife does. That way she could get gang jumped in a jail cell and come out with a girlfriend that looks more like Eileen Wuornos than she does. Okay? This is the kind of stuff I talk about on my show. Why? Because it's interesting and it actually happened to me. You can participate in my show. That's the great thing about it. You can buy me a coffee too. So racism is fake. And racism doesn't just extend in America. they basically have it as black and white. But I told you before, with these immigrants that come in, what are they? They're maroons. That's what they are. Okay? And so these maroons come in and they give the police something to do. They give the newspapers something to talk about. And then they pick up small jobs that other people aren't either willing to do or, right? Thousands of years ago, when they marooned people, now they were marooned my kin. In case you guys don't know, I got a lot of work out of the American Indian Community House. I'm Lumbee Native from North Carolina. And, sorry. Sorry. But, okay, so I was getting more work out of the American Indian Community House in New York City than Irie Bedard, and she played Pocahontas in Disney. She was working all the time. I was working all the time. I did an incredible job, but because I left Michigan, I don't have people to blow smoke up my ass like a lot of other motherfuckers over there do. I bested them in every single way imaginable. I can actually write a song, and I talk about that on this show. Hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate that to you. I also talk about the fact that John Lennon did smuggle opium. I'm going to make that assertion. It would be great to get confirmation. I heard Yoko Ono's about in her 90s now. She has to cop to this. It would be an incredible book. It would be on the level of like a Tom O'Neill discovering that, you know, the entire Manson debacle was completely false, perpetrated with MK Ultra doctors. That's right, Jolly West was involved in this. But I just want to make myself clear as far as the Order of the Nine Angles. These guys were Operation Gladio. They come in, they fuck shit up, and they cause either racial derision or they cause societal division with immigrants coming in. Okay, and you can see this being played out now. Right? As soon as the one guy takes power in the White House, they start saying there's a crisis at the border. I mean, you can't see this playbook. I love trains. Yeah, I'm 58 going on 8. Yeah, so as far as having a problem with, because of what happened with my wife pointing this weapon at me, I have to talk out loud. I have to think, and it takes me a long time to formulate words and sentences, which is really tough for me because I'm an actual writer. Hopefully I'll be taking my writing and I'll be doing audio versions of that. That's what I want to try to do. But I'm really super busy. I want you to know that racism is fake. It's completely contrived. 80 to 90% of people marry people who actually look like them, which is amazing now that we are in a global village. It's great because I'm naturally olive complected, and there's plenty of people from the Mediterranean who are olive complected. There's plenty of people right here in this melting pot. And if you buy into these local news media stories, I mean, I just feel bad for you, son. There is no doubt about that. I mean, it's just rather pathetic. I don't buy into hardly any of them. You reach a certain point when you're black-pilled that you can actually see right through so much stuff. The deception is over. And so I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I just wanted to clarify some things with regard to the Order of the Nine Angles. There is freedom of religion in this country, and you're free to worship whoever you want. Now, the whole thing with the cult of I Am, I was talking about that in the last episode as well. The cult of I Am turned into the power of positive thinking and how to win people over and influence people. You guys remember these books, Dale Carnegie and stuff like that? I believe Donald Trump was part of this great I Am cult. And it's interesting to see how far it goes back. And then in modern times, how it changed into kind of a corporatist version of the same thing. Okay. And so that's the whole point of a corporation. They have the rights of a living being. But the whole point is that you call them a corpse because technically they don't exist. You can't blame the person at the counter selling you something for something that the corporation did, right? And a lot of times you can't blame the CEO either because they're just like, hey man, I'm just the CEO. What do you want? I inherited this. Okay. So these are the kind of things that I talk about. And just to skip around a little bit, I like doing that. I was telling you about John Lennon. He was hanging out in Detroit with the MC5. The MC5 were a huge influence on punk rock. I actually am so young that I didn't even discover, I knew who the MC5 was, but I never thought about buying their music until I heard a song by The Damned, because The Damned were more of my social milieu of my generation, even though they were actually came out like years before, like 8 years before I even got into punk rock, or maybe 6, whatever it is. I'm in Los Angeles and the Damned are getting ready to play here. I don't really go to concerts anymore. Why? Because I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy writing and I enjoy making videos for all of you. Thank you very much for watching my show. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. Bye.